Give me a minute to do a few things. First I should say, I'm sorry I'm late. I know the stream was supposed to start at 11, for those of you who follow the schedule. Okay, sorry about that. I got a question from a friend asking if I was alright, and I had to respond back that I was, because I am. Because I don't want my friend to be worried about me. But I was, today's Warhammer 40k day, which means I need to do the thing. I'm going to take away the dice cam temporarily. If we have to roll any dice, we will put the dice cam back. We're going to put the dice cam back. Okay. I just fixed an, I don't know if I fixed an audio itch. There's only one way to find out, actually. This is the way you find out if I fixed audio glitches or not. Yep, I did. Okay, cool. Basically, I have to say something and then not say anything and wait for the, because I'm watching my own stream, and it's a few seconds behind me, so I guess you're watching this a few seconds in the future, which is a thought. But what I intended to do was go to a thing and talk to some people. But anyway. So I need to tell everyone. So last time we did Warhammer 40k, I need to get a better notebook, but I was working on the Expectus Primus and all of the various there's a technical term for this. All of the so Expectus Primus. So we've been working with our captain, who and the Expectus Primus is one in a fleet of ships run by this rogue trader who tends to leave his kids on various planets when they hit like 5 to be raised by people other than him. It's a whole system, and that he does. Okay, this is an important factor in life. So my point on all of this was... Oh, right. Okay. Oh, hey, I have viewers. Welcome, welcome. I don't know if I specified, but my name is Lee, and I'm more she, they vibes today, but he is fine. I'm pretty chill about pronouns. Welcome, welcome. Also, I have a chat. I don't have a setup yet where they can do a chat rules, but I will ban anyone immediately for anything intentionally homophobic or transphobic. Or, like, mean-spirited in general, but those are the two big ones, because, yeah. But no, today... Oh, right. Sorry, I'm very easily distracted. That is one thing you will learn watching the stream. But I have something very cool. That. Rogue Trader, Warhammer 40k. It's a role-playing game. I was explaining about how in this... it's a system of rules to run something set in the Warhammer 40k universe, specifically running a rogue trader ship. Where the rogue trader ship goes out and does rogue tradery stuff, and your players act as captain and or an explorer or a navigator, and they or arch militant, or a number of career classes where they go out and do useful things, and it's kind of epic. The reason it's such a cool thing is mostly because Warhammer 40k is an amazing universe with really cool lore, and the tabletop war game never really captured that. So in my mind, it was not, it was just not that cool a thing, because it didn't capture all of the... sorry, my hair itches a lot on the vibe. I also know I have really bad acne on my mouth. We're working on that. In the meantime, let me go back over my notes, because I have done all the thing. Well, no, I did. There's one more thing. Alright, there's that. Now, that... Alright, so hopefully we have some more people come and join us to hang out with, because, hang out and stream by yourself isn't too fun, but I will show, I'll do some world building, hang out with whoever comes by, and I do appreciate having one viewer at least. And feel free to say hi in the chat as well. I always love it when people say hi in the chat. Beautiful. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and I will put it up on YouTube as well afterward. There are a few streams, I admit, that I missed because they expired before I could get to it, but I've been trying to upload as many of them as I can to YouTube, and I put the dates, so you could just go up and watch all of this from the beginning if you wanted. That's Vagmar. Okay, so human, level 10 human for Pathfinder. Oh yes, here we go. Terenra. Right. We named her Terenra. She's just butch pansexual woman. Scapegrace from a Forge world, who has a criminal history. Oh yeah, she was smuggling data out of the library. That was her vibe. She's a wanted fugitive. Was press ganged. Oh, by the Explorer fleet, right? Press ganged by the Explorer fleet to be their kind of face and vengeance. Oh yeah, she wants to get vengeance on the guy who turned her in. Oh, and she's an explorator, right? Because we, and she was sent along with our other explorator. Let me find our other explorator, who was also press ganged by the Explorer fleet. Which means the Forge world she comes to is probably the same one that was running the investigation on Wasserland, I believe it was called. This planet, I will check which planet that was. But, there's, I'm working on creating an amount of lore. Warhammer 40k is rich in lore. It is an intensive structure of... Oh, and if you have any lore questions about my particular spin on the world, or, you know, the whole Warhammer 40k universe, as described in the core rulebook, I am, yes. Haha, it is working. I'm learning how to point the right direction so it shows up on the screen. Which is not an easy feat when it's mirrored. But, we're learning. Law, okay, yes. Oh, yes, that is Hamish, which is a death world. That is a paladin and a Platoon Empire, and skills, strength, dexterity, no. Adet. No, Adet is an arch-militant, not Adet. Nicolette. Oh, hi! Welcome! I'm doing quite well. Hi. You are always welcome to stay as long as you want, or as briefly as you can. We're doing Warhammer 40k character creation. Well, world building and character creation. Kind of a vibe. I'm trying to look up the name of this planet, Viseria. We have one explorer, who basically works for the Tech Priest of Mars. I don't know how much you know about Warhammer 40k lore, but Tech Priests of Mars are in charge of all technology. They pacify the machine spirits of the ship so that they can run. They are generally the tech experts of the Imperium, and they're the only ones who are allowed to worship anyone other than the God Emperor of mankind. They end up worshipping the Omnissiah, who is the concept, personification, that's the technical term, of the concept of all-knowingness. Which is... Yeah, so that's the Omnissiah's vibe. But yeah, the Tech Priest of Mars in a theocracy is allowed to have a different religion simply because they are just that, awesome. I've been rolling completely randomly to create these characters on this rogue trader ship called the Experimus Primus, and I think it's, I think Bees, I don't know if you know, she's the criminal matriarch over on the other server. We're criminal matriarch over on the other server, and she comes to this server, and she actually named a lot of things, including the Expectus Primus, I think, if I remember correctly. It's the ship. So if I remember correctly, Janthine, who's one of the first characters I made for this whole world setup I'm creating, was a renegade, but she came from this hive world and was press ganged by the explorer fleet, who were working to do archaeological digs, underwater archaeological digs, mind you, which because planetary warming, the sea levels were lower, and certain areas of land were available that aren't anymore. But if she was sent to invest onto the Expectus Primus because they have the ship itself contains a piece of technology so old and so rare that the tech priests, I think it's a teleporter, that the tech priests want to keep an eye on it. It's a holy relic, essentially. So she was sent to the ship because of that, which means that, given that the Turenra, who is actually was also named by B. Now that I think about it, was also press ganged by the explorer fleet, which means she's probably on that ship. They probably put her on the ship at the same time they put Janthine on the ship, which means that if she was on the same explorer fleet that Janthine was, then she probably was if she ended up on the same fleet that Janthine was on, that means that she probably came from the Forge world she was probably part of the archaeological digs the Forge world were setting up on Visceria, which doesn't necessarily claim a planet of origin, but is an interesting starting point for that. I've been working on different planets of origin for different. That's the world building part of this, the stream, the Warhammer 40k streams, which are late nights, Tuesday, Thursday. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So what we could do would be to work on. Oh yes, we are doing that. That's a whole other thing. Adeptus Sobrites, Underworld Peer, Common Lore. Yes. Okay. So. And we got all our skills figured out. Okay. So. Well, actually, we should probably note down all of her other. I should open the book up. Is what I should do. Core Rulebook. So I've been reading sections out of the Core Rulebook simply because there's a lot of really interesting lore and such. So I'll read the Explorador passage, and then what we need to do is put her starting equipment and yes. Oh, I have to do the thing where I set up. Sorry. No. There. Now we go like this. And we do that. And then I can see the, okay. We'll just pop it down a little bit. There we go. Sorry, it's very itchy. I have I can read from the Warhammer 40k core rulebook, which I think personally is very fun, so I like to share it with you guys. The quest for knowledge drives the Mechanicus to the stars. Forgotten archaeotech and uncatalogued celestial phenomena await. The voice of the Omnissiah awaiting to be witnessed. Explorer and engine seer Akula. Yeah. The lore is I'm always yeah, that's the thing about Warhammer 40k is I'm glad you think it's cool. It's so sprawling a setting. The 41st millennium, the Imperium of Man controls. Well, there are arguments on the forums whether it's in the millions or billions of planets. I'm personally thinking at least 100 millions because of math that they pointed out that the million side didn't account for. But what so what so you can sort of build a planet and just kind of stick it there, and it works because there's no way to prove the planet doesn't exist. So you can invent whole planets and then weave them into the greater the greater imperial systems. And a rogue tradership the same way. So I've been, and of course I had to interconnect their stories to figure out how all these people ended up on a rogue tradership, in the corners of space, exploring new wherever and this and that. And I've been rolling up characters completely randomly using, the origin chart. So I have some fun, one of the things I really like to do is charts. This is one of my favorites. I roll every character on this chart, but, map, origin chart, origin path, there we go, found it. There. That, why? Sorry, I have to move this up a little bit. Oh, it is incredibly detailed. Right. It is actually incredible. Oh, so hi, welcome. Always good to have you on. Good seeing you. What was I gonna explain? Oh, yes. So the lore is indeed very detailed. It's the 41st millennium, and after mankind expanded to the stars, got cut off from the stars by a series of warp storms caused by the birth of the chaos god Slanesh, that the Eldar murderfucked into existence. That is the technical term that most people in the fandom use. Murderfucked. So because of that, and the AI rebellion at the same time, the Dark Age of the Dark Age of Technology ended, and there was this whole plunged into darkness and despair in the whole galaxy. The Emperor, who was a superhuman who existed throughout history, basically unified Earth, went to conquer all of the stars and put it back together, but he ran into a lot of enemies and also tried to push atheism, which wouldn't let people know about the legitimate demons that were out there because they're the manifestations of people's thoughts, because that's what the warp is, and the warp was getting stronger because of the birth of the chaos god Slanesh. So a lot of his people got corrupted because they didn't know to look out for this, because he was trying to starve the demons by pushing atheism, except that doesn't really work because they're manifestations of sentient creatures' base desires, so you can't really starve them out by not worship. Which the Emperor didn't realize, and in his folly allowed several of his superhuman sons to fall to chaos and lead a rebellion against him, which ended badly with him on life support, and now he's basically ascended to the position of God because everyone in the Imperium worshipping him gives him the psychic strength presence in the warp to create the Astronomicon, which allows for interstellar travel to be much, much safer. It's still very, very dangerous. especially once you get past the Astronomicon's light, which is out in the very edges of the galaxy, which is where most rogue traders go. But it's just irony that he became the worshipped head of the theocracy when he was trying to push atheism. Sorry. Warhammer 40k lore is one of my favorite things to... If it gets boring, let me know. I could keep going on about the orcs and why humanity hates all Xenos and aliens, and also mostly because of the orcs and the fact that they try to kill everyone, and then humanity decided to exterminate all Xenos, which made them some enemies, which in turn kept convincing them to try to exterminate Xenos, and so on and so forth. It's a vicious cycle. Rogue traders are allowed to work with Xenos and even trade with Xenos, but you kind of have to be willing to sell them out to be genocided by Imperial troops if you go that route. So it's a thin line to walk. But yeah, that's the setting. That's the Imperium in a nutshell. There's more to the setting in terms of all the ancient stuff that went on and why orcs exist, and the ancient war between the Catan and the Great Old Ones that led to the creation of a lot of creatures and stuff. But in the Imperium of Man, which is a scattered collection of a feudal theocracy, basically, different planets have different rule system, and they all pay types to the Imperium and follow under loose imperial justice. It's a whole thing. But because it's such a big sprawling setting, you can just invent planets. So what I've been doing is I started with one rogue trader ship, and then I've been cataloging who's on board this rogue trader ship, and what their home planets are and what those particular planets look like, using lore pulled from the book, which is very fascinating. And I've been reading out. I don't know if you come to the Warhammer 40k streams regularly with me. I do tend to read out the just directly from the book because it's actually really interesting, and then I can supplement the lore with my own knowledge of 40k lore. If you have any questions in the chat, I don't know how many. We have very few people watching, but for those of you who are, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I love to answer a question about 40k lore, or yes. What was I? So the origin chart, which I have right up here. Whenever I create characters for 40k, well, actually, whenever I do character creation on stream, I like to roll for a lot of things, pretty much everything. So just to give the characters a flair of randomness. But each of, I don't know how well you can read this, but each of the, here we go. Let's see if I can make the, no, other way. So, you start with Hive World, Homeworld, rather. Hive World being a type of Homeworld. Then you go to Birthright, which is what you did starting out. Yes, the Eldars are aliens that very much represent the elves. Dark Eldar being, well, dark elves, essentially. Halflings are represented by Ratlings, which are very small abhumans, which means they're a subspecies of human. There's also Beastmen. Dwarves represented by, well, there's a whole schism with that. There's the Squats, which is an abhuman race. Oh, there's also Ogrins and orcs, but orcs who are their own species. But there are Ogrins, which are kind of like ogres, but who are also an abhuman species. And yeah, and then there's I don't know if they have an analogy for gnomes. Probably a Xenos race that or something. But yeah, the Squats are sort of like dwarves, but they're abhumans, which means that they're abhumans are humans that are basically subspecies. They're human enough to have souls, as one of my person from Red Dog put it. They're like not quite human, but they're close enough. Like dingoes or coyotes. Like yes, they fall into the same species technically, and they can interbreed, but they're not the same thing. It's kind of understood. Yeah, there's abhumans. And squats were driven nearly to extinction by various war, because the Imperium is at war on 99 fronts on any given day, because they have a lot of enemies. Part of that is their own fault, and then part of that is just the Empire's. The galaxy is a very dangerous place and full of people who want to have wars for various reasons, so they pick on the Imperium. But yeah, the squats were pretty much killed off. Basically, the Games Workshop, the company behind Warhammer 40k, to whom Fantasy Flight Games, the company that made Rogue Trader, lost their license. Oh yeah, they don't like the squats. They don't like people talking about them. They're just generally not. They were trying to write their best to retcon them out of existence. They also have the Demiurge, which is an alien, a Xenos race that are also said to be kind of, when you read the description, a lot like dwarves. So I think that's what they were trying to go for. But of course, squats still exist in lore, and very annoying players still. I assume they think of us as annoying. Still like to bring them up and lore and such. Sorry, sidetrack into a little more about the world. Right. Oh, so the it basically you pick one from each of these things. It's why you went out to space, what built-in tragic backstory, terrible thing happened to you, what's your main motivation, and finally your career path, which in something like Dungeons and Dragons would be more analogous to class. It gives you one special ability and also informs how much experience you need to gain what skills and what improvements you can make at what rank and stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah, career path is the big thing that is the most mechanical. But each of the steps along this origin path, which each of the boxes, you get one from each row, and they have to be kind of connected in a certain way. They don't have to be, but it's considered ideal, and it's GM discretion whether or not you can deviate from that. What was I going to say? But in every box that your character takes gives them certain mechanical advantages or disadvantages, some certain mechanical effects on the player. So it's a good way to give yourself a nice, well-rounded character. So I've been rolling randomly to determine where on the origin path we go for each character. Usually I start by rolling a d6 for homeworld, or I'll just pick a career path and go up the chart. The main reason for that was because you want to make sure you have a balanced crew, and there are certain roles that need to be filled. So for example, Rogue Trader, there needed to be someone who had the warrant of trade, so I had to go create that character, and then I went up the tree, which led to some interesting results. I'm very sorry. But what I was explaining about before I got caught up in distracting all of you with lore, is I have I was going to read the Explorator passage because our character is an Explorator. So let me just pop this down a little bit and put this up. Right. And I still have the chat open, so if any of you want to say anything, or don't want me to read or anything, let me know. But this is the chapter, the career path section, the chapter on Explorer. Part adventurer, part warrior, part emissary of the machine cult of Mars, explorators are tech priests, bionically augmented adepts of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Their function is to travel into the depths of the unknown and unearth the ashes of the past in order to acquire knowledge and secrets for the glory of the Omnissiah. Something of a breed apart in the cult Mechanicus, they are seen as a necessary evil by some of their fellows and vital agents of the machine god by others. Explorers undertake their quest for knowledge across the stars, seeking out undiscovered data and unrecorded phenomena, forgotten archaeotech hordes, and unknown life forms. All Mechanicus research stations, exploration ships, and outposts any distance from a forge world are likely to be manned by explorers. It is also a sacred function of these intrepid, or foolhardy individuals to delve into the unexplored reaches of the galaxy, either as part of great Mechanicus-backed fleets or by attaching themselves to rogue trader houses to carry them into the beyond in search of both the future and, more importantly, the past. The lost achievements of mankind's dark age of technology soared far beyond anything that can be made today. Only by relearning ancient lore found scattered across the stars and painstakingly piecing it together can man ever achieve such dizzying heights again. Attempts at improvisation or adaptation are viewed by most followers of the Omnissiah as the height of hubris. Imagine that one can set oneself above the knowledge of the ancients without risking their deadly sins and dark fate that led to the horrors of the Age of Strife is pure folly. Explorers themselves tend towards greater independence of mind and inquisitive thought than adherence to machine cult and more sheltered roles. And they often have their own secret agendas and arts far beyond those of their more pedestrian peers. Many tech adepts, particularly of the more junior and provincial variety, regard the explorers as dubious outsiders prone to stray beyond the bounds of the arcane dogma and rigidly adhere to precepts laid down by the inviolable teachings of the machine cult. Whether or not this is true... Okay, we're going to do vocab time, because I have never heard inviolable. Alright, we're doing vocab time. Inviolable. Inviolable. Never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored. Inviolable. Okay, good to know. I learned a new word today. Hopefully you guys learned it too. I always want to teach you guys stuff. Share stuff you might not have known. Sorry. Whether or not this is true, it is undoubtedly the case that amongst the adherents of the cult Mechanicus, they are the most likely to be exposed to the prescribed technologies of alien and the sins of the dark past. In truth, explorers are on the front line of perils few can understand. There are more than a few explorers who, in their desire to uncover the secrets of the universe, have fallen prey to some Xenos dogma and turned from the original doctrine of the 8 universal laws, have become corrupted by warp-twisted engrammatic code, and lost their souls to the abyss of chaos, or have simply been driven mad from knowing too much. Yet the risks are worth the rewards. The explorers have found many great prizes in the quest for knowledge, and their role in many other affairs has been key to the success of the Imperium's survival. However, countless explorers have met with grisly deaths in the hostile galaxy they explore, and on mercifully rare occasions their ill-conceived prying has unleashed cataclysmic horrors on mankind. When an explorer accompanies a rogue trader, the arrangement may have come about by some ancient debt the rogue trader lined owed to the cult Mechanicus, hard bargaining, or even pure chance. Whatever the case, the explorer will be a valued member of the rogue trader's party, bringing with him a wealth of esoteric knowledge and arcane technical know-how quite beyond any other member of the crew, and often not a little firepower of his own. So our tech priests, 2 of them now, joined the crew of the Experimus Primus because they had a holy relic technology aboard. So they wanted to keep an eye on it. Oh yeah, so basically starting trait Mechanicus implants. I should probably write down what those are. But it basically gives you talents and gear, and I should starting skills as well. Um, Attack Mechanicus. We get Forbidden Lore. Archetype and Adeptus Mechanicus. Okay. Literacy. Always a good skill to have. Logic. Speak. Oh. Speak languages. Low Gothic, which is sort of a mishmash of old ancient Terran languages shaped by years of different vibes. There are a lot of different dialects of Low Gothic, a different one for each planet practically, but most of them are relatively intelligible. Think if someone from the deep south in the United States and someone from Australia and someone from rural Scotland got together and tried to hold a conversation. They're all speaking English, but there are three very different varieties of English, so they have a hard time understanding each other, but they'll be able to get their point across eventually. That's the same kind of vibe as Low Gothic from different planets. Sorry, it's... So we have Speak Language, Low Gothic. We also get Explorator Binary. And Technolingua. Alright, tech use, intelligence. A lot of intelligence-based skills. The way it works is you want to have as high a score as possible in any given stat, because when you roll, you are rolling against it. You're trying to roll a D100, and you're trying to get under your target number, which is whatever base attribute, intelligence, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, agility, perception, willpower, or fellowship. And then if you're trained in a skill, you get a bonus for being trained, and you get situational bonuses or penalties based on what the DM thinks. For example, if you're making a tech use check, but it's Xenotech and you're not familiar with it, the DM might impose a -20. So you'd have to roll lower than your intelligence score -20, essentially. Which would be really low indeed, so there's not a very good chance of that, but you're still rolling for it. If that makes sense. Well, okay. Sorry. Tech use, trade. Oh, trade, Technomat. Trade isn't that sort of trade. Is an intelligence-based skill. We have Mechanicus implants and gear. We got, bolt gun. Yes, we want a bolt gun. We could have a best craftsmanship las gun or good craftsmanship hell gun, but I want a bolt gun. Best craftsmanship shock staff. Shock staff. Or a good craftsmanship power axe, but I think shock staff is a better better vibe. Enforcer like Carapace. Armor is good. Basically, instead of making you harder to hit, the way armor in D&D does, what the way armor works in 40k is it absorbs damage. So, if someone hits me with a shock axe, for example, and they roll 1d10 plus their strength, it would be I don't know, maybe 6 points of damage. I guess it's plus 5 would be more like 8 points of damage. But my point is the way Carapace works is you automatically subtract the value of your armor, which I think like Carapace gives you something like 7, and your the first digit in your toughness score, the tens digit. The tens digit of your character, your character's. No, you don't add agility. I feel like there should be a rule for that, but there isn't. No, you just you tally up how much damage you would have taken altogether, armor, no armor, and then the if you sorry, I'm trying to find the right words. If you yeah, so that's how the rolling system works. I was explaining that. Armor, how armor works. So you basically take 7 less damage than you would have otherwise, and that's it. You just take 7 less damage, and the toughness. You the tens number of your toughness score is the amount of damage you can ignore on a hit. So it's very possible that a hit does enough to be well, no, not enough to be fatal at this level, but powerful what's the word? I am very sorry. My brain has decided that it is enough, that we already had work today, and that this is a lot. Oh, right. Oh, so the armor just takes, you take off your armor and you take off your toughness bonus. And if there's still damage left over, that starts going into wounds. If you get all of your wounds taken, you start doing extra damage on top of that. And that is the damage that will do bad things to you that you want to avoid at all costs. Whether that's by having more armor or not being in fights. So I have Enforcer like Carapace armor. We have a multi-key. Basically, we have a key that opens every door on the ship. Void suit for being outside the ship. Injector, sacred unguents. Sacred unguents. Which is probably like WD-40 mixed with something that smells nice. Honestly. Microbead, very tiny vox, so like you know how the Secret Service always have those things in their ear and they can like radio each other? That's what a microbead is. Combi tool, ultimate Swiss Army knife. I'm so sorry. Data slate, like a tablet. I also get a Servo Skull Familiar. I should probably write down the stats for that at some point. Basically, Servo Skulls are the skulls of humans that have died or displeased the Imperium, or just the Imperium decided they didn't need any more and needed Servo Skulls more. So the deal with Servo Skulls is that it's a human skull, and the brain is outfitted, preserved and outfitted as electrical conduits for a computer. And then all the other tech is added in and wired into that, including anti-gravity. So these things can just kind of float around. They tend to float around behind you and attack on command. They might make witty remarks, just basically are annoying and don't really do anything. I personally don't think they're very interesting. But the most recent one features a tiger in a zoo, and given cultural zeitgeist, I think that's appropriate. So Servo Skull familiar, we got that. We also have Mechanicus implants. I'm gonna go to page 366 and see what these are. You've been judged a suitable vessel for the following implants. Electrograft. So we have an electrograft, which is basically a human USB port. Once you have been properly trained, this will allow you to interface with machine data ports and certain types of data nets. Electrograft can be taken in many forms, such as skull shunts, finger probes, and spine jacks. So yeah, it's a USB port built right into your system. So we have implants. What do we have? So we have an electrograft. Always good if you want to jack into the system. We have inductors. Palm-sized metal skin grafts appear much like tattoos to the uninitiated. Electrodes are wired into your nervous system where they drive power from the bioelectrical emanations of the flesh. They can be used to emit or siphon power in many ways. Inductors can be any color, including and can appear anywhere on the body. Though hands or mechadendrites are the usual sites. Respirator unit. What is that? Plus 20 against... That's what it said. It's plus 20%. So if any of my players were exposed to airborne toxins or something, and I would ask them to make a check against their basically a rolling initiative, but they load two bullets and then so plus 20. So if you were trying to escape a bout of poison gas, I would ask everyone to roll toughness checks. So everyone would be trying to roll underneath their toughness. However, if you had a respirator, the two explorators would then get a plus 20. So they would be trying to roll under their intelligence score plus 20, which is a much easier target number, statistically. So plus 20% to... I'm so sorry. I'll finish writing down the cyber mantle to avoid poison gas. Cyber mantle. To let's see what it says. A subdermal anchorage point. Servants of the amnesia. This sacramental is referred to as the true flesh. One would have to look beneath the red robes of tech priests to discover what cybermental looks like, and thus no one admits to having seen one. Then we got the Potentia coil. Alright, Potentia coil, external battery, not a metaphorical one, cranial circuitry. A series of link processors, implants, and correctional circuits that augment your mental capacities, mostly within housing bolted onto the skull, while others nestle within the brain itself. As you grow in the seriousness of your devotions, more and more of the brain that deals with useless things such as emotion and intuition can be scooped away and provide room for additional augmentations. Cranial circuits are often very crude looking and rather aged. Okay, cranial circuitry, let's go back, yeah, so that's all my gear, that's all my skills, and then I got the implants, which I get as part of the mechanicus, and then a Servo Skull familiar, which needs a name at some point, and then we have to figure out what planet she's from, and describe that. That's another world building stream. Probably gonna do that one on Thursday, honestly. Figure out if she's from the same forest world as the captain, maybe? But that doesn't make sense either. We'll figure out a deal for why she was with the Explorer fleet and why they chose her, and, I'm blanking on names. This is why I need to go to bed. Moving the packages, is just a lot. Okay, I think I'm going to end the stream here for tonight because I'm falling asleep here at the desk, and I don't want that. So, next Tuesday, we're going to do the thing where I do, well, tomorrow I'm going to run a Pathfinder 1st edition character creation stream, and mixed in world building, of course, and then that would be 1:30 p.m., and then we're going to raid into Kayla if she's doing D&D this week. If not, some other cool D&D channel. Thursday, I'm doing another late night. So that's a thing. And then Friday, we're going to do Thirsty Sword Lesbians Day, because Thirsty Sword Lesbians are, like, the coolest. So, that's the schedule for the week. Come by if you can. If not, no worries. Always appreciate you being here for now, if nothing else, and I am good night, sleep tight, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks for coming to the stream.